original idea was to take all of this out, but I decided to leave this brace in. It'll give me something to work with when it comes to my new brake pedal and clutch pedal. And then I could leave this piece in. Can't decide whether to leave these in or not. It does kind of brace everything, stability-wise. I don't think it's going to be in the way. We'll see. If it's in the way, it's got to go. Hi, I'm Brian. Welcome back. Well, as you can see, there's a big chunk of stuff missing here. I thought I'd just give it a shot and see if I could get this engine and transmission sold. I'd left it running. If you've noticed in my previous video, I went through great lengths to trim out all the bad wires and leave in the good wires and keep it running. Put it on a local classified ad. It was crazy. Guy called, real excited. He says, those Pinto motors are really hard to find. So I asked him when he came out, I said, what are you planning on doing with it? He's building a go-kart for his grandson. Yeah, a 4-cylinder Pinto with an automatic go-kart. They actually do dirt oval track racing for the little midgets. So I'm glad that it was able to get into somebody's hands that was excited about it. In the beginning, I thought for sure it was going to go into scrap. Normally I would have videoed yanking this thing out, but since the rear transmission mount wasn't hooked up, it was just sitting on the frame, 2 bolts here in the front, all the wiring was already disconnected and just kind of draped over the motor. Out it came. It's nice to have it gone. Now I can start planning here, and I'll show you a close-up of these mounts. They didn't look very solid, but they end up solid enough, I guess. I was a little leery of driving it, but the motor may be breaking loose, but it's not the prettiest welding. You can see, I don't know why it's got bolts in it, because the bolts are doing nothing. Probably just to hold it in place while they welded it, and maybe they were worried about their welds, but you can see pretty lumpy, strange weld. It doesn't look like it got a whole lot of penetration, but it held. Same thing with this side. Not the prettiest weld, but where it actually welded to the frame, that's it. Just a couple of little spots here, and then you got this big old ugly overhang. So this was the area that I was most concerned with only having those 2 little weld areas, having this possibly break loose, and then the transmission cross member wasn't mounted. This one, it didn't appear as though there was any weld, so I was really concerned with that too. But once I get it all out and get around to the back side of that, there is a weld similar to this on the back side holding this to the frame. But yeah, that's some heavy metal. The metal wasn't going to get loose, but the weld wasn't the prettiest. So you can see the suspension now with everything out of the way. It's a pretty unique suspension for its age, to have upper and lower control arms, or I guess I could say an upper control arm and a kingpin onto a leaf spring. Same thing, leaf spring just goes all the way across, similar to the old, what, 32 Fords were that way, Model A's. But as I'm looking at the brake pieces, I was worried that the brakes were really old systems in this, but it looks like the front and rear wheel cylinders have been replaced. The brake lines look pretty good, but I can't imagine it was done recently. Since the tires are from the 70s, most likely the brake system was done in the 70s as well. So, what now? What is the plan? Well, I have a whole bunch of boxes. I need to start ripping into these because it has an important sticker on here. Open immediately. Take inventory. And you can see from this box, it's busted open. So hopefully nothing fell out. I will see if I can find the packing list. I'll start pulling everything out and I'll do an inventory. I'll show you what my plan is. Raw steel. Might give you an idea of what I'm working with. That definitely give you an idea of what I'm working with. CPP, Classic Performance Products. Give me a nice new hat. Got some tie rod ends, motor mounts, T-bolts, motor mounts made with nice welds. Nice. Nice. More classic performance parts. Brand new disc brake calipers. Disc brakes on the front. This is the one I'm a little worried about. I hope nothing's missing. It doesn't look like anything has fallen out. New spindles. Disc brake caliper mounting plates. I wish it would say what's supposed to be in each box so I know what to look for and what might be missing. Hardware. Ah! Nice stability. Sway bar. Power rack and pinion steering. So what I have here, it's not complete. It was supposed to be complete, but it's pretty obvious now that I'm looking at it. I'm missing the wheel hubs to the spindles. I'm missing the disc brakes. I'm missing the upper and lower control arms. And I'm missing the coil over shocks. So with that being said, that's what I purchased. That's what I'm expecting. I'll have to get a hold of them and find out where the rest of it is because they said they shipped everything. So maybe there's more boxes coming. Maybe somebody screwed up. But I definitely need to get a hold of them and let them know. Because if they think everything's here and it's not, then that's really a big problem. So on one of those boxes is a packing list. I'll find that packing list and I'll go down through the list. But what I bought is a Mustang 2 style full front suspension system for a 40 Ford. So why a 40 Ford? Although the great people at Classic Performance Products, I called them up and I told them what I had. And we looked up the specs, the track width, the frame, the style, everything about the Jeepster closely resembles a 40 Ford. So yeah, there's going to be some modifications because this is made specifically for the 40 Ford rails. And there's some plates to box it in. Well, this is a boxed in frame. So according to the tech guys there, this has been done in a Willys wagon. They're not sure about a Jeepster. I've actually found some Jeepsters online that have Mustang 2 style systems. This is produced by CPP. They design their own. They sell others like Hydes and Flaming River and some other brand names. I actually talked to a couple of people that have Jeepsters. There's only one guy that knew what he had, and he had a Hydes system, and he knew it had to be modified in order to work with the Jeepster. So I'm sure I'm going to have to be doing some modifications with this too. So what I need to do is I need to kind of lay it out based off of the frame of the Jeepster, make sure this is going to work. If not, I guess I'll be sending it back. But I really don't want to send it back. I really want to make this work. So I'll probably have to make some modifications. I'm hoping I don't have to modify the frame very much. Hopefully I can just make some modifications to this. But that's what I need to look at right now and see what I can find out. I've actually got this on upside down, but I'm using these edges as a guide on how wide the frame is. And it looks like I'm going to have to shave a little bit off because the 40 Ford frame rails are on a little bit of an angle. And very easy modifications to get it in there. There's a little bit of a flange right here that'll have to be trimmed off. But it's all completely boxed in, which is fantastic to have a frame that's that rigid. Being all boxed in, I don't need to use the boxing plates that go across here for the 40 Ford. So it's pretty exciting. This isn't going to be that difficult of a project. Yeah, it's time consuming, and I have never done it before. This is all new to me. It's something I've always wanted to do. That's part of the reason why I bought this, is I was excited to play around with hot rodding something and putting a modern Mustang 2 front end in it. When it comes to getting everything ready, lining everything up, you don't have to have a frame rack for something like this. Yeah, it'd be easier to mount it to a frame and have all your dimensions and everything. It's fixed and there's no way you're going to bump it and screw it up. But by putting the frame on jack stands, putting paper on the floor, or masking tape on the floor and making notes all over, just dropping a plumb bob on a string over all the points of where the suspension needs to be, where the center line for each wheel is on all four corners, the width. Plan it all out so that it's all marked on the floor. And then as you start setting everything up, just dangle those plumb bobs from all those critical points and everything goes back exactly where it belongs. And then you can double check all your dimensions, tack weld all the pieces in, double check everything again, and then burn it in. It's pretty exciting. First thing I need to do, obviously, is get this body off, get it out of the way, clean up all the frame rails. I want to get rid of all the gunk. I don't want any gunk falling down into all my dimensions and plans that are on the floor. Body-wise, it's ready to come off. There's 12 bolts that hold the body to the frame. I thought I might have some problem getting those off. They'd be rusty, but being a West Coast car, all of them just came right out. There was nothing hanging out. The brake / clutch modified pedal thing, that was a little bit of a bear to get that out of the way because it actually goes up through the floor. So I got to get it down. There's a lot of pieces that are welded together there. But now that's out of the way. I just hacksawed off the exhaust to get the motor out. So that's not attached to anything. It's just hanging there on the chassis. The gas tank is mounted to the body, so I do need to drop that down. It does have some gas in it. I don't know how much is in it, but luckily it does have a drain plug on the gas tank. It's pretty unusual, but I guess it wasn't that unusual back in the 50s. So drain gas, drop the tank, move this body off, and then start cleaning out all this greasy, grimy gunk. Cut off these welded on brackets. Start prepping all this. I'll need to, it looks like this cross member is welded in place, which is surprising me. Usually they're riveted like this, but actually now that I'm looking at it, it is riveted and welded. So these Willys frames are pretty tough. All right, start moving this body off, getting this cleaned up. Take two. Let's try this. Take three. I think it's coming out now. Clear. Body is free from the chassis. You can see here, this is what I was talking about, what that hacked up on the frame. Cut a big hole for the exhaust to run through. Cut it up in order to get the transmission mount. Now you can see this was the brake mechanism. And the brake side is still hooked to the master cylinder. And the clutch side, somehow, I guess they welded it all together right here. I tried to grind it apart so I could free it loose, but I couldn't. No matter how much I tried to get the clutch free from the brake, so I just dismounted the master cylinder from the frame. And then I was able to get that pushed forward far enough so it could be free of the body. Frame is all boxed from the factory. It's a really nice channel all the way up and over with a plate all the way along underneath side of it. It's a pretty nice frame, especially with this center section. This center section cross member was only in the Jeepsters. There was a K member kind of a thing for the wagons, and I don't think there was anything but just a piece that went straight across for the trucks. So pretty beefy frame. I don't think the frame was compromised at all with what they did by cutting this up. So rather than trying to replace this piece or replace the whole frame, it's just a matter of cleaning that up and making it look like it was supposed to be. A cleaner, better setup. It looks like there was maybe intention of running the exhaust through the frame in the factory. The original factory side, the frame, the exhaust was mounted along this side of the frame, I believe. Not positive. And then this side had brake line. The brake line's pretty pitted, so definitely due to be replaced. I had mentioned in my Buick, when my Buick line looked similar to this, and I actually blew it out on a hard brake. It just ripped the tube right open, and I lost the brakes, almost wrecked the Buick. And that was when I decided, okay, enough's enough. It's time to pull the body off and completely redo everything. But I'm noticing the rubber line for the brake line is touching the exhaust. I know the exhaust has moved a little bit, but not that much. It's not melted, but that was kind of crazy to do that. Alright, I got a lot of cleaning to do. Once I get this frame all cleaned up, and I'll get it on a floor jig, and I can make up so that I can keep everything where I want it. Keep it all level side to side. Do my plumb bob markings and measurements for this front end, and just start ripping all of that out. And finishing cleaning these up and getting them nice and presentable. Then I've got to figure out what am I going to do with the brake system, because I am putting a stick shift in this car, so I need a clutch pedal and a brake pedal. I'm not sure if I'm going to go with the Willys brake and clutch. I did find a set. They're kind of expensive, 150, 200 bucks just for the pedals. But if I can make it all work, it probably makes sense to just buy those, because that'll make it easier to keep the floor original, use original style carpet, those kind of things. Well, I got a whole lot of cleaning to do. If I can just soak it down really good, I can take it to the car wash or get a pressure washer and blow all this gunk off. Because surprisingly, for a 70-year-old car, it's nowhere near as gunky and rusty as you would expect. This bend right here looks like somebody wrapped a chain around it to tow it. So we'll have to straighten that out. Alright, thanks for watching. Appreciate you tuning in. Hit that like button if you like what I'm doing. Subscribe if you haven't already. Thanks again. Goodbye for now.